Hi, I'm Scott Leadingham. Thanks for joining us here in the unique Northwest. If you're a reader of the Spokesman Review, you might recognize the name of our guest. Well, he's no longer with the Spokesman Review. He is now one of us, you might say. Nick Deshais is the new Inland Northwest Correspondent for the Northwest News Network and Northwest Public Broadcasting. Thanks for being here, Nick, and welcome aboard.
Thank you, Scott. I appreciate it. Very happy to be here.
We are happy to have you. Okay, so talk about a little bit of what you covered in the past so people might be familiar with your body of work as a journalist.
Sure. So like you said, I was at the Spokesman Review for about 6 years. There, I mainly covered City Hall, and I also, in the last 2 years, covered urban affairs, which was basically transportation systems, architecture, development, things of that nature. Before then, the reason I came to Spokane is I got hired at the Inlander. And there, like a lot of alt weeklies, I just had a kind of a broad mandate. I covered City Hall there, I covered the justice system, any number of things. And I always have covered bicycle riding, which is one of my passions.
So not new to the region, but new to the organization and public broadcasting. So you covered a lot of urban stuff in the city of Spokane, but your mandate and your coverage area much wider in this position. You're going to be covering the Inland Northwest. That's very broad. So what are going to be some of the topics that you're looking for and the coverage area that you're going to be doing here in this new position?
Yeah, well, I'm going to take a lot of what I have been working on and just kind of broaden that out. So I'm going to look at a lot of the growth and the change in the region. You know, it's not just Spokane. Spokane is the big city in the Inland Northwest, but everything is growing around this area. Everything, you know, I'll be up in Bonners Ferry and the changes happening in Sandpoint. I'm going to go down to Enterprise and Joseph. Joseph is going crazy right now. I'll go to the border of Idaho and Montana and all the way over to Ritzville. So there's a lot to cover, and there's a lot going on, and I'm very excited to start finding these stories.
You are going to be excited, I'm sure, because you're an excitable guy. You got a good body of work behind you, and we're excited to have you, and our viewers and listeners are going to be very lucky to have you at the helm of a lot of this coverage. So, and speaking of that coverage, you mentioned a little bit of what you covered on a transportation front. You know, you had a column in the Spokesman called "Getting There."
That's right.
Right. So I'm just curious from your perspective. We have a correspondent, Tom Bonsi, who covers a lot of transportation infrastructure related stuff, but a lot on the west side. He's based over there, but kind of, you know, we hear a lot about the Puget Sound region and how it's changing, how it needs high speed rail, and you know the Interstate 5 is clogged, and all that sort of, you know, the way that we plan for cities over there. But obviously, Inland Northwest, as you said, growing maybe in a different way, but still growing. And so you're seeing a lot of regional growth and change. I just wonder if you can speculate a little bit about kind of the coverage that you'll be doing, but also just like what you're seeing from a growth and regional change perspective here on the dry side, if you will.
Yeah. Well, I'll focus on transportation a little bit. I'm going to write or report on a lot more than that, of course. But two things. We'll look at Spokane first. You know, Seattle had its growth and its boom. They tried to figure out how to stop traffic. They couldn't. If you go to Seattle any time of the day, you'll see it. Portland was next. They tried by building light rail and bike lanes. Traffic is there as well. So we're next in line. What is Spokane going to do to stop traffic jams? I don't think they have a plan or great ideas. They're trying a lot of stuff. They're building the Central City line, which is bus rapid transit. They're building more bike infrastructure. They're trying different things. But traffic is still coming to Spokane. So there's that, just looking at how Spokane and the Spokane area will deal with this growth. But beyond that, all the little towns around the Inland Northwest. You look at Sandpoint. They reverted their one-ways to two-ways a couple years ago. They had the bypass go around it. I think that has shown that the downtown has become more lively, but is that something that can be replicated elsewhere? I'm not so sure. Up in Deer Park, they built a couple roundabouts to try to increase safety on the growth out there. People keep teeing into the big road, and there were fatal accidents, you know, numerous times a year now that have gone down because of the big roundabouts. Even here in Pullman, there's discussion of what to do with these big one-ways that run through the middle of town. So those are just a couple of the things I'll be looking at in that sense of the word. But beyond that, the growth, I mean, we have how you feel about it, if it's good or bad. We have an Amazon fulfillment center that has been built. It's in Spokane. That will bring 1,000 plus jobs to the region. There's just, things are moving to this area because I think people have realized we're kind of a hidden little gem. Not a lot of people live here. There's beautiful natural areas. It's affordable, not just in Spokane, but everywhere. So we're going to get a lot more people moving here.
Right. I think North Idaho, especially Post Falls, you know, between Spokane and Coeur d'Alene on the Idaho side, is projected to grow up to somewhere around 100,000 people in the next 20 years or so. And that's like, is the infrastructure there to support it? So all these sort of questions about infrastructure and planning.
That's a big question too. I mean, you look at it, there's one thing to allow houses to be built. That's easy. People want to buy a cheap house. They want to have a nice backyard. They can do it in an affordable way because there's a lot of open land. But coming with that is like, does it have the transportation system to hold it? Does it have the utilities to support it? Those are things that people are starting to discuss now. And if you mentioned Post Falls, which is right between Spokane and Coeur d'Alene, in the last 10 years since I've been here, the Spokane-Coeur d'Alene metro region has added 10% of its population. And it was 500,000 when I moved here. Now it's more than 550,000. So that's pretty rapid growth that decision makers in this area and others have to just kind of prepare for, because I don't think it'll let up anytime soon.
So another transportation-related topic that you covered recently on your first day on the job actually was this thing called the Idaho Stop as it relates to bicyclists and laws that they have to obey.
That's
and
right.
it possibly could be bleeding over here into the state of Washington.
That's
so
right.
what is the Idaho Stop, and is it going to come to Washington?
Yeah, so basically the Idaho Stop allows bicyclists to treat stop signs as yield signs. So if they have a clear right of way, they don't have to stop. They can roll through the stop sign. Idaho put it into place in 1982. 1983, there was about a 14% decrease in collisions between bicycles and cars, so it showed that they are safer. And yeah, it just passed out of a Washington Senate Transportation Committee. They sent it on to the Rules Committee, and then after that it goes to the floor and to the governor. Looks like it has a good chance. It will make Washington, I think, the 5th state to adopt the Idaho Stop. Already Delaware, Oregon just implemented it January 1st. They passed it last year, and it just was implemented about a month ago. And so we'll see. We have a lot of cyclists in Washington State, especially on the west side, of course, but even in Spokane, there's a healthy cycling population. And in Pullman, I know there is one too. So it's going to come, and we'll see if it'll have the same effect here in Washington as it has had elsewhere.
So it's that Idaho Stop and bicycling, you came to that not only as a journalist, but as a cyclist yourself. That's part of what you do. You're real interested in it.
Yeah.
To that end, you once rode across the state of Washington a few years ago on Highway 20, the famed North Cascades Highway, the beautiful northern route across the state. Just wonder if you can give us some of the highlights about what you saw, what you learned, kind of what you took away as just sort of these ideas of what the state is like and the region is like, having experienced it from a bike instead of from a car. You ended in Sandpoint, Idaho, right?
Yeah, I started in Anacortes, made it to Sandpoint. It was a 10-day journey. I took my time a little bit. It was 50 miles a day, which is a lot. It's plenty, I think. But people hear that on a bike and they kind of worry that it's too much. But it allows you to see the state in a way you wouldn't see it before. And the stuff that I saw and the themes that really came out are things that we all see, but I just was able to kind of appreciate them more. For instance, I got to see the beautiful North Cascades National Park and see all the travelers and visitors there. The next day I rode up Loop Loop Pass, and it was already torched by then, and they had a funny little sign on the side of the road with a picture of a bicycle going up a hill that was on fire, and they had a bunch of free water there. It was a hot day. A couple days later I was at Sherman Pass, which had been burned 20, 30 years before, so you got to see the growth there and how long it takes after a natural fire like that. So that's stuff we're continually seeing in the state. Unfortunately, year by year, more and more smoke and more fires. I got to think about water. There was a day when I was headed down into, I think it was Colville. There was just there was a lake, there was a river, there was a lack of drinking water for me, and so that was a day where I got to think about the arid center of the state. We are the evergreen state, but in the middle of the state, there's not a lot of green. It's an arid place. If nobody has ever done bicycle travel, it's really the way to go. It's a very calming way to travel. You get a lot of time to think. Every time you stop, somebody guaranteed is going to walk up and start a friendly conversation, wondering what you're doing and where you're going and how hard is it, how easy is it. So I highly recommend traveling anywhere by bicycle, but especially a long trip like that.
Well, didn't a state law just go into effect at the first of this year in Washington State, requiring drivers give more room to bicyclists, right? That's something everyone needs to be aware of, 3 feet required?
I think there was always 3 feet. It might have gone up a little bit more, but now if you have 2 lanes and there's a bicycle, you have to move into the other lane if you're a motorist.
Oh, right, okay.
Just because, and it's that thing I experience. I'm a motorist too. I drive, I ride my bike. When you're in your car, you feel pretty protected. You go by a bicycle, you think I'm giving them plenty of room. But when you're on your bike, there's no such thing as plenty of room. Like, the more the better. So people give you a foot or two. It's really scary on your bicycle. So I think this state law will encourage more people to ride bikes and will increase the safety. That'll get more people riding their bikes. If that's what we want to do, in our state, then we need more stuff like that. These rules create increasing safety.
We'll amend your job title and your business card to say Inland Northwest Correspondent and Safe Cycling Advocate.
That's right. Safer the better. I'm a safety advocate no matter what.
There you go. So finally, how do people get a hold of you? Are you on the Twitter machine like all the other cool journalists, or what's the best way to connect?
On social media, Twitter is really where I'm at. It's at Nick Deshais. That's where you can find me. I share a lot of stuff. I share my own stories. I share other people's stories. If you're looking to pick a fight, I'm not the type to engage in arguments on Twitter. I think it's kind of a waste of time. But if you want to have a conversation, I'm always open.
There you go. Well, thank you for the conversation today. Thanks for joining us today, Nick, and welcome aboard.
I appreciate it.
So you can see all of Nick's reporting on these and other topics at nwpb.org and connect with him on Twitter at Nick Deshais. Thank you for joining us here in the unique Northwest.